and we are live. I am hanging out here with Steve Rozenberg of Empire Industries. Steve, hello.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me, Jason.
It's my pleasure. I love having anybody on that's had some, significant success and growth, because the reality is most property managers are struggling,
Right.
right? Most of them, and they're all doing the same stuff. They're all trying to do the same stuff that they've been sold or told to do, and they're all struggling. And not everybody has this level of growth that you've had. And so you've grown from basically from a portfolio of nothing to 700 doors in as little as about 4 years, right?
Correct. Correct.
And so a lot of people hear that and they're like, okay, Steve's some sort of freak of nature. He's obviously like, he's really buff and strong, and he's good looking, and this sort of thing. And they're like, I can't be Steve. It's he's somebody that it's impossible for me to be. So I want to see if we can bridge that gap and help them kind of understand what you've done, and so we could draw out of you like what's really worked. So why don't you give us a little background on yourself and who you are and how you got into property management first?
Yeah, absolutely. And this may paint even more realistic picture that I'm just an average person from my perspective is when I talk to people, I explain, I never even really wanted to ever get into real estate. I never wanted to be in owning a business. I never thought I would be in this world. My journey in this whole entrepreneurship started, it started about 9/11. And the reason that day impacted me so much is I am an airline pilot, and I fly for an airline, still do. And as you know, a lot of the ways that we viewed September 12th were a lot different of how we viewed the world on September 10th. And for me, it was a lot more relevant because, when you're in an industry that's downsizing and, hey, things are not looking good, we're going to be cutting back, you can kind of see it coming. It's kind of like a hurricane, right? Moving up the coast of Florida. It's coming, you're preparing for it. Well, when 9/11 happened, if you were an airline pilot, you've worked your whole life to be this specialized person doing this one thing, and that's all you know how to do, which is fly basically a metal tube around in the sky around the world. And next thing you know, it's kind of, living in California where I grew up as well, it's kind of like an earthquake. Next thing you know, what you had and what you built your whole life is just ripped to shreds, and you're standing in the middle of nothing wondering, what am I going to do? And for me, it was like a Band-Aid was ripped off. Next thing you know, airlines were going out of business, pensions were being cut, contracts were being voided, and I was basically about to be on the street out of job with about 250,000 other airline pilots. And the thing that scared me the most is the fact that I remember thinking, there's nothing else I'm qualified to do. I've spent my whole life focused on this one goal of being an airline pilot, and I can't do anything else. And I've kind of almost pigeonholed myself into this career that is basically dissolving, because as many people remember, the days after 9/11, I remember what a lot of people don't remember about 9/11 is all the planes, wherever they were, had to circle and land. Wherever they were in the world, they had to land, okay? And after that, about 3-4 days after, which is what I remember most about the days after 9/11, is they sent all the airline crews to these places to pick up these planes. And I remember walking through these hallowed terminals, these cavernous, huge terminals, and it may have been Denver or somewhere, I don't remember. And all these planes are parked like a jigsaw puzzle on the tarmac. And you're walking through this huge empty terminal. There's no passengers, there's no planes. It's just like a dead zone. And I remember thinking to myself, I am so screwed. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I don't know how I'm going to survive, because life as I know it is going to cease to exist the way it was September 10th, which was just a week ago. And I remember thinking to myself, I will never, ever put myself in that position again to be stuck like that. So going back to your original question of how I got into this, I started studying, I started learning, and I really got involved in real estate because I liked the fact that I could leverage my time, leverage some money, and I could still fly. I never wanted to give up flying. I always wanted to fly, but I could have something else for that retirement. And so what I did is I started buying real estate. I started buying houses. That went pretty well. I sold a couple, bought a couple apartment complexes. did okay with that. Got a little bit cocky, thought I knew everything I needed to know, and thought, oh, I got this wired. I can do this. Me and my business partner, we bought about 20 low-income properties in about a year. And that was a huge, huge tactical error. Excuse me. And so what we ended up doing is we had a lot of problems with these properties, and we weren't running them correctly. We were just getting our butts kicked. They weren't making any money. It was just a huge headache. So in our infinite wisdom, we thought to ourselves, okay, the only way we can get out of this is buy more properties. So we basically bought another 15 properties, which was essentially putting gasoline on a fire, and it just exploded even worse. And I remember my wife saying, if you buy another one, it better be nice because you're going to be living in this thing. And you know, it's almost like being an addict, where I realized, you know what?
Like you had dug your own grave.
I've dug my own grave and I can't get out of this. So me and my business partner, we sat down and we said, okay, you know what? Obviously, we're not the smartest guys in the world because we put ourselves in this position, but we're not the dumbest, so we can figure this out. So what we ended up deciding was, okay, we can either hand these over to a management company, which we found out nobody wanted them because they were low income properties. So that was another indication that we were in a mess. Or we said, okay, we can run these as a business if we sit down and put policies, procedures, and structure in place, and we can run this as a business. Which essentially for the next 8 months, we did that. What happened after that is our properties stabilized. They never really made us money because they were low-income properties, and we just could not find the right business model for it to work. But we realized we had a workable business model that other people were coming to us, approaching us, asking us, hey, could you manage our houses? And the first thing we did is we hired a business coach, which was probably the smartest thing we ever did, because we realized we were not educated enough on certain business models. You had mentioned earlier that people struggle being a property manager. This was something that we did not want to get into. If we were going to do this, we were going to run it like a business. We were going to do it correctly. And so we hired a coach, and he assessed the business and said, number one, you have a market, you have an opportunity, and you have scalability. You have a business model. So now it's a matter of creating structure for growth and making it scalable. So that was June of 2012 is when we hired our business coach. In December of 2012, we hired our first full-time FTE, full-time employee, who's our head broker now. And essentially the way that we've grown this thing is we have realized, number one, we run it like a very strict business model. But number two, we realized that we are a sales and marketing company. We focus and invest our marketing, our money vastly on marketing dollars and training our sales team to be closing machines. And we test and measure everything we do. We are very, very strict and diligent, and we have KPIs, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But I think, going back to your question, the biggest difference that we explain to people is a lot of people identify themselves as property managers. That is who they are. That's who they identify themselves with. I don't identify myself as a property manager. I am a business owner that owns a property management business. It could be dog food. It could be dry cleaning. This is what I do, and what I've learned by being coached by many, many business coaches and books and mentors that I've constantly invest in, you know, listening to people like you speak and other stuff. I've learned that the way to grow your company is surround yourself with much smarter people. Always go to that uncomfortable zone that you're not feeling comfortable with. Test and measure everything. But most importantly, remember that you have a business. And if you do what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, it's not doing one massive action. It's doing a lot of actions continually over time, building up the wall with a bunch of bricks. That is what we have found has been the key to our success for our growth. So in a long story, that's how I did this.
No, that's great. So yeah, I totally agree. So one of the biggest challenges I see is that property management people think I'm hearing an echo here. Let me see. It's really weird. But yeah, one of the challenges is property management people will think they're a business owner, right? They think they're a business, but the reality is they're really just a slave to this machine that they've created that's taken over their life. Or they are, they do perceive themselves to be just a property manager. And the reality is, if you run a property management business, you should not be doing property management. That's right. That's the worst idea ever. So if you're doing maintenance coordination and tenant and showing property and this kind of stuff, that's probably not what you should be doing, right? You should be focused on business development, improving sales, automation, systems, processes,
Yeah. And, you
your
know,
people.
one of the first things we did, our business coach made us do, is he made us create an org chart. That was one of the most vital things. As simple as that sounds, we created the org chart. And what we realized is by having that org chart, even though me and my business partner, Pete, were the ones carrying all the hats in the org chart, we knew the growth of the company and where it was going to go. So we said, okay, the next position, the next role we're going to hire is going to be this role. It wasn't a person, it is a role. And you have to disassociate yourself emotionally. And, you know, one of our main mentors, he tells us, if you know your employees' problems, you are way too involved in your business. You need to let them do what they do. You need to get out of the day-to-day operations. You have to take off your cape, basically, get your heroitis out of the way. Let them do what they do. The biggest challenge most owners have, especially I wouldn't say just property managers, but small business owners, is they have that self-sabotage where somebody doesn't do it as good as them and they go, you know what, get out of the way. I'll do it. Obviously, I'm the only one that can do it. And they're basically trying to mentally, they're self-sabotaging to justify why they need to have a job. And one of the things I've noticed with a lot of investors, a lot of property management companies, you talk to them about business 101 that I've learned from learning this new language. And I realized that a lot of these people, they do not invest time spending time on the business. They're always in the business. They're in the weeds, and they never have that 30,000 foot view to say, what are we strategically doing to grow this 10X level? They never think like that. All they think about is, okay, what do I have to do today? How many properties do I have to walk in? When I talk to people, you know, I do a lot of speaking at seminars and mentoring of people. And when I talk to them, you know, I ask them, how many hours a week do you spend working on the growth of the business? Mm-hmm. And when they actually do a time study, it's little to none. And then they wonder why they haven't grown.
Yeah. And this is, you know, so I'm a firm believer in coaching. Every business owner should have a coach. I mean, the biggest mistake I think I made as an entrepreneur were the years and years of struggle where I thought I could figure it all out on my own. I thought I could read a book, or I could watch YouTube videos, or I could, you know, I thought I could just figure it all out on my own. And the second I really started investing in coaches and doing high level coaching, and I mean, I spent money on coaches that I didn't even have. It was ridiculous. My wife thought I was nuts, and she probably wanted to strangle me through the whole process, but it collapsed time dramatically for me. I didn't have to waste all that time learning and trying to do stuff. And the reality is most business owners think they need to learn how to do a bunch of stuff. All they need to do is get out of the way, and they need to get people that can do those things better than them and focus on their area of genius, whatever that is.
Well, you know, you hit on some very, very good points. First of all, you know, they say you will grow, your business will grow to your level of incompetence, meaning you will grow to about as good as you are, and that is all your business will grow. So, you know, we invest a lot of money in whether it's coaches, whether it's audiobooks. I mean, I listen to audiobooks nonstop. I have my sales team coached. We are coached. I mean, it just is. It's embedded in you, and you realize that you start pulling away from the pack. And people say, how did you grow your company? Well, we grew our company because we run it like a business, and we're surrounded by millionaires and billionaires that are telling us, whether it's an audiobook, whether it's a coach, whether it's a seminar, convention, all these people. And what you notice is they all are pretty much telling you the same thing. There's no magic to what they're telling you. They're saying, look, invest in marketing. If you're going to grow, you're going to forego profits. You're going to reinvest it back in the company. You're going to do these things. You're going to be, as you said, to grow your company. You don't need to be a specialist. You need to be a leader. You need to be a general, which is a generalist, meaning you need to know just enough about everything, but not anything specific. And, you know, people ask me that question because I still am an airline pilot. I fly a 787 around the world. And I still do that. And people say, how in the world do you do all those things? How do you manage 700 houses? I say, well, I don't do those things. I don't know accounting. I couldn't even get into the QuickBooks that we utilize. I just need to hire the right person that knows those things. So it's a matter of having the right people in place in the role and trusting that role by testing and measuring everything. We have weekly KPIs from the sales team, from the marketing team. We have all those things that are constantly being hit on to make sure that they're performing per the KPIs and per the metrics. And we have checklists and online checklists. And I mean, we have virtual assistants in Mexico, Philippines, and India. Everybody's working synergistically, rowing in the same direction so that we can keep our growth going momentumly. And our job as the leader is to be the one in the front of the boat, pointing, encouraging everybody, not pushing their buttons, but pulling their buttons and encouraging them to move forward. And that's, as a leader, as an owner of a company, that really is your job. Your job is to grow the team and encourage them, not say, get out of the way, I'm going to do this better than you.
And that's something that almost has to be learned. I mean, most business owners start out and they're usually, what you hear is, gosh, if my team could just do what I tell them to do, if my team could just be better, I would get ahead. If my team, and so they have this mindset that why can't they just do what I say and do this? And so eventually, as they evolve, as in the space of being an entrepreneur, they get to the point where they recognize, how can I help my team get ahead? They shift from, instead of like, why isn't my team helping me, to they start realizing, oh, I'm not helping my team.
Right.
Your whole job then becomes helping your team and facilitating your team so that they can support you.
Yep, exactly.
And giving them the freedom to do that.
Yeah, and more importantly, the team, they're the front line of your customer service. They're the ones that are talking to your clients. They're the ones that are talking to your vendors. They're the ones talking to your tenants. You reinvest money back into your team and your employees, and it will come back to you in dividends. But most people are not of that abundance theory. They're kind of the me theory of saying, I've got this job, I'm paying all these people, and I'm working just as hard. Well, it goes back to, it's growing to your level of incompetence. You are, my question to a lot of owners that I talk to, when I start telling them about the growth, and they say, oh, I could never do that. Well, because of your mindset, I agree, you never will do that. If you change your mindset and you start thinking of abundance and start thinking, okay, how can I help my sales team get coaching? And how can I help them get better educated to reach their goals so that they're happier in life? Whether it's a business goal or a personal goal, the more that you help them and the more that you encourage them, the more they're going to be apt to basically do for you. And it's that abundance, helping them get up the hill, you get up there also.
Yeah. So I think, there's kind of a big gap. I think some property managers would be, they're listening to you right now, on the DoorGrow show, and they're hearing this and they're thinking, man, Steve's at such a place that he's so far along. Like, I haven't even hired my first employee yet. Like, the majority of property management entrepreneurs, the majority of entrepreneurs and small business owners out there in the US are in poverty.
Yeah.
They're struggling. The majority of them are going to fail, fail in the first year, first 5 years, like 90%. They're thinking, what if I could just hire my first employee? And so they're stuck in like what I call the cycle of suck and some of these challenges. And so here's my recommendation, because I think creating the org chart, it sounds exciting, but I think for most business owners, it really creates this thing that's so far away from where they are. It's self-defeating. And so what one of my coaches had me do is do a time study. Just figure out my time, right? We all have myths and lies about where we spend our time. We have no concept as time as human beings. Like, we really don't. We lie to ourselves constantly in our head about it. So you do a time study, you write down every 15 minutes where your time's going, and then you take a look at your time, and then you divide it up. What is strategic and what's tactical? Like, where am I doing work and that's focused on doing the business, and how much time is spent on growing the business or on strategic stuff and what I want to do in the business. And I have a very high percentage on strategic time now, but everybody starting out, they're doing almost none of that. Absolutely. Like zero. And and usually what they do is they hire people based on what they think they need. So they start filling out the org chart instead of creating more space. So their life becomes tactically harder.
Yes.
And if your life is becoming tactically harder as a business owner, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, I agree. And
because
I think
some people have multi-million-dollar companies, but they are massively overweight. They're massively stressed. They have no marriage. Everything's burning to the ground around them except the business, and they have money. Right. And their life is tactically insane. Like and so because they're the linchpin to everything. And that's a surefire way to build a team, but not a team that supports you. It's building an empire that's like a house of cards with you as a linchpin.
Well, it's one of those things that it comes down to me. Everything you said comes down to one word, which is leverage. And, what I realize is, one of the things we did, just like you had said, one of the first things we had to do with our business coach was do a time study. Where's our time going? And then we said, okay, what are the low enjoyment, low return tasks that we're doing, and what can we offload? And basically we started doing that. We started offloading, and then it went to, if it's not going to be a employee, it's going to be a virtual assistant. For example, my property managers, I don't need them creating management agreements. I can have a virtual assistant do doc prep for quarter of the price of what I'm paying them. And it's something that can be done. It's done every time, without a doubt, exactly the way I want it. It works really well. So if I'm paying a property manager X dollars and I can pay a virtual assistant this much and I can get double production, it makes sense. This is something that's not worth their time. It has to be done. It's necessary, but does it have to be done by them? And
so you have the property manager do a time study, look at where their time is being wasted or spent or whatever,
kicking it down.
What can be done. Yeah. So, and if you can leverage technology, systems, outsourcing,
absolutely,
vendors to do some of this tactical stuff, then that doesn't mean you're going to go fire your team.
No,
are going to be doing less stupid stuff.
Well, you're
time doing stuff maybe they enjoy doing.
Absolutely, because what you're going to be doing is they're going to be able to focus on the client retention, the customer service. So for example, we have our property managers. Each property manager has an assistant property manager that is in Mexico. And these people have our phones. They have our phone line. So they are an extension of our company. Fantastic workers. They are very good at doing work orders and doing that kind of stuff for basically a fraction of the price of what we're paying our property managers, not a fraction, but a good percentage off. However, then we have other virtual assistants in India that does all document uploading of invoices and all that stuff. So what I talk to the team about, to the property managers, the property managers use their brain, the assistant property managers use their mouth, and the virtual assistants in India use their hands to upload. So I explained to them, look, you need to designate what tray this task goes into, because I don't want the people in India trying to make phone calls to an owner to describe a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
So and vice versa. I don't want the property manager spending their time trying to upload invoices to the portfolio when that's something that can be done overnight for a fraction of the dollar. And that's how you grow a company. And, you talked about leverage in a certain way and getting things done. One of my business coach just spent a weekend at Richard Branson's island over at Necker Island with Richard Branson. And he had some very interesting things to say about him that, he runs, I'm going to say it's upwards of maybe 300 companies. His day consists of windsurfing in the morning. He does 3 hours of computer work in his hammock in the beginning part of the day, and then he's done for the day. And you think to yourself, how can this guy run 300 plus companies? He's worth over $5 billion. How does he able to do that and go play all day long by just working a couple hours from his laptop in a hammock, where other people are slugging it out 20 plus hours a day for one company, making barely enough to survive, like you said, or not surviving? There's a key. They're not working. He's not working harder.
Yeah,
they're working harder. So it's not a matter of, it's a mindset issue. It's not a tool set issue. So the biggest challenge I have found, and that's something that I had to learn, is I had to change my mindset from being an airline pilot that just flew airplanes to saying, okay, I'm going to be a business owner, and I have to learn the mindset tools of being that business owner. Now, I'm fortunate enough that I get asked to go speak around the country at property management conventions, and I go to Australia as well, and I do a lot of that stuff because of the way I've changed my mindset. But it's not that I've worked any harder than I was working. I only have 24 hours in the day. I don't get 25th hour. So I'm doing something different with my day, and everyone else can do that as well to grow their company, but they have to be willing to change their mindset. One of the biggest challenges I think people have is 70% of all the words that go through your brain is negative self-talk. So you have 1,500 words a minute going through your subconscious brain. 70% of that is telling you why you're going to fail or not do good. So to me, if you're doing that, that is an indication that you're basically fulfilling your destiny by saying, I can't do that. I can never grow my company to $700. Well, Anyone can. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just leveraging other people and other people's time. That's really all I'm doing.
Yeah, the brain is hardwired to do that, right? Our brain, the logical side of our brain, its goal is to protect us, right? So it's fantastic. It has a fantastic imagination to come up with all the problems that could potentially happen, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which the majority will probably never come true. But
Nope.
It's great at creating stories. It creates stories instantly anytime anything happens to us. And between where we are and what we want, this gap is the void. It's this scary area that exists that we don't feel like we can jump into. But anytime I've ever jumped into that risky area, that void, and entrepreneurs were a bit more willing to take risks. But anytime we do that and jump into that void, it's never as bad as we imagined it would be.
Exactly. You've talked yourself into this basically you've whipped yourself into a frenzy. And the only difference of people who succeed and don't succeed is the ones who succeed actually take action. The ones who don't succeed don't take action, and they just sit there and I knew he would fail. And business, as you know, like me, we tried many things that do not work. We've tried programs. We have failed many times. I've learned more from my failures than I ever have from my successes. And to me, growing to 700 doors, that's great. I'd like to get to 1,000. We're opening offices in Dallas. We're opening other locations. I just opened 7 locations in Houston. That's a little scary. Now, all of a sudden, we're expanding our company. That gets the pit in your stomach saying, okay, am I doing something wrong? But just by doing it, next thing you know, you're going, okay, that really wasn't that hard. It was mentally in my heart. I was trying to figure out all the reasons I would fail. You have that negative self-talk. But the reality is just doing it is really the key. And just saying, okay, this works. It's been working. I mean, I have millionaires that are coaches saying, just do it. It will work. And the only person that's saying it won't work is me, who's never done it. The ones who've done it over and over again are going, look, it works. Just do it. I'm going, I'm not sure, but I've never done it before. So I'm actually convincing myself it's okay not to do it, as opposed to just taking action. And it's amazing what your brain will tell you and what you can talk yourself into or out of.
Yeah, entrepreneurs so there's 2 types of people on the earth, and there's only one that's making a difference, and that's the entrepreneurs. The true entrepreneurs that are out there, they have a high level of desire to contribute and create contribution, right? Like you're an entrepreneur, you want to be out there making a difference, speaking. You don't do that just because you have a big ego.
Nope.
Right.
I love helping people. It
feels good to help and serve people. Right. And so entrepreneurs have a higher level of desire to contribute. They also innately have a higher, ability or willingness or tolerance for pain and risk, but they're also more sensitive. Right. So generally entrepreneurs are more sensitive to sound, to touch, to everything. In fact, I think a lot of these, my son is very entrepreneurial kind of minded, and he's just hypersensitive to like the tag in his shirt, like everything. So we tend to be more sensitive, but we also we can shut it off and like start tolerating a lot.
Right.
And so I think also we need to be careful as entrepreneurs to not tolerate, because we will make our days tactically harder, more difficult. I really, really dislike time management. I don't even like the phrase time management, because time management means let's make my life tactically harder.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe in what I call energy management. So it's what makes me feel alive. Like Branson, he does what makes him feel alive. He doesn't have to do anything that he doesn't want to do.
No.
He walks into a room and millions of dollars are made. He can like just walk into a function and people pay $10,000 a head or whatever. Like money just happens wherever he goes. So he does whatever he wants.
Yep. Yeah.
We're not, and to get to that point though, everybody wants to just be there. But there's a massive amount of work, and you have to build a team. And that's the hardest thing these solopreneurs will probably ever do, is build that initial team, I think. Getting to that point where they have a team that really is supporting them, because what gets them to that point in growing their business, when they get to the point where they can afford a team and they can start hiring a team and building that out, they have to give all of that up. Yes. They have to give up everything that took them there. They have to give up everything they had control over, their whole identity. They have to give that up. And very few people make it through that transition. That's very difficult. They bounce there and then they go back and go, that's ridiculous. I'll just do it all myself. And they stay small.
Yeah, very true. And it's a self-sabotaging. It goes back to self-sabotaging in your identity, because that's who you identify with, who you are, as opposed to just saying, okay, you know what? I am a business owner and this is what I do. I feed 20, 30 families who work for me, because my job is to make sure that I am out there growing the company, not tactically doing things in the office. My job is to go to Dallas and open offices to keep the growth going. That is my job. That is my goal. And that's how I keep that's my new role. And, just like other people have to evolve and, you have to do things, you have to evolve as well as a leader. And most people have never been a leader. I've never been in this role. So I have to learn. I have to educate myself. I have to be around people. I have to ask a lot of questions. I have to fail. I have to piss people off when I don't do it the way I think I should be doing it. And I have to be willing to look at that as saying, okay, what can I walk away and learn from this to make me a better leader so that I don't piss people off the next time? And as you grow a company and you start growing staff and team, and, before, I think when we would hire someone, we would analyze it to death. Should we hire them? Shouldn't we? Can we hire them? Can we afford them? Can we not? Then should they're not working out. Should we get rid of them? Should we not? Well, if we do this, we would, either side of the coin, we would talk ourselves into a frenzy. Now we just come in and the head general manager says, hey, we just hired some more people. Okay, good. Hey, we just got rid of someone because it didn't work out. Okay, good. Yeah. Are you good with that? Yep, I'm good with that. Okay, sounds good to me. Good luck. Let me know if you need anything from us. And that's the role as a leader you want to be, because a lot of people, they want to go for that dream of having this big property management company that they can relax and have a business. They're doing it not to be a property manager. They're doing it for the dream of having a business produce revenue for them. But what they do is they get stuck to the level of their incompetence of saying, this is really all I know. I've only been an employee. I only know how to do. I don't know how to lead. So I'm going to just go until I can't go anymore. And then I'm going to dip back down because it's not going to work, because I've never learned how to lead. So I'm going to dip back down and be an operator and go, yeah, I'll just be an operator. And this doesn't work and it sucks. And owning it, this isn't what it's cracked up to be. But we know there's people that are successful doing it. I know there's people that are much bigger than my company that make me look minuscule. They do the same thing. I know it can be done. I have grown the company to my level of incompetence thus far. I need to raise my level to keep it going. And if I don't do that, that's on me to being a bad owner and a bad teammate to my employees.
Yeah, it reminds me basically of the Peter principle in business, that everybody is promoted to their highest level of, incompetence.
Absolutely.
Or of incapacity, and so what happens is and I saw this when I was at HP, I saw this at Verizon. Everybody gets promoted if they do a good job.
Yeah.
But they keep getting promoted if they keep being the best or doing a good job. They get noticed, but eventually they get promoted one step too far.
Yep. Very true.
So companies in general, larger the organization, usually it's full of people that have been promoted to a level that they're no longer functioning well at. But the only people aware of it, like when I worked at HP, I had a boss down in Texas and I was in Boise. And I felt like he was clueless. Now, I was clearly an entrepreneur in the closet. Like, I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur, and I probably shouldn't have been underneath people at the time. But I any team that I had been on, I would do really well at, and then I would move to a bigger company or whatever. And I probably should have just started a business, started failing quickly, But he would, like, I would give ideas, and then he would shoot them down, right? And then a month or two later, he would come up with a great idea, maybe, and it was my idea.
Yeah,
right?
very, very similar to the one I came up with.
Yeah. Hey, I got this great idea. Oh, that sounds familiar, right? And so there's this natural inertia that tends to happen with an organization. But we as an entrepreneur, we're the biggest cause of that happening, because we kind of run the show. And if our leadership style is that, then, and we are the major Peter in this Peter principle, like we've grown this thing to the point where we're now stuck and we're not investing in ourselves, because what got you there isn't going to take you forward. And so you've got to be investing in yourself. And that would mean coaching. It could be books, it could be trainings, it could, something, but you need to consistently be investing in yourself in order for the business to be growing.
Well,
Would you
and
say
not
that's fair?
absolutely, and more importantly, the one thing a lot of owners do not do, which we are very very big sticklers on that we've learned, is we are very big into our key point indicators, our KPIs or metrics of
Mm-hmm.
what our company's doing. So when it comes to marketing, we know exactly what marketing campaign we're doing, how much money are we spending, where's our return, where's our lead generation coming from. We track everything so that we know where do we spend our money, where do we not spend our money, what programs on the property management side are working, what type of owners, because we have 50 to 60% of our owners do not live in the state of Texas. We have owners all up and down the West Coast, Australia, China, Israel, a lot of people buying properties in Houston that utilize our services. So we want to know, okay, which group is which group is buying more, but more importantly, which group is the better buyers? Because we want to be able to track which ones are the good ones so we can invest more marketing dollars in there. So, our website translates into multiple languages, our property management agreements do. I mean, we do a lot of things for our out-of-country owners because we can track where they come from and we can be strategic. So the big problem with a lot of smaller business, and I know with property managers, is marketing is some bad word. They don't even really think about it. I love when I talk to people and they tell me, oh, I don't even market. And I think to myself, that could be the dumbest thing I've ever heard someone say. Because if I was going into your market, I would come in, I would market like crazy, and I would take your market share and probably put you out of business because I would go after your clients because I know the value of marketing. I know the value of acquisition of a client. I know what the best bang for the buck, how to get recurring and make them a raving fan to buy more because that decreases my acquisition. But the only way I know that is by tracking everything that we do. And it's as simple as putting it on a spreadsheet. It's really not hard. And by doing that, it tells you a picture. Those numbers in a spreadsheet, and I'm not a numbers person, but I do want to see what the numbers are telling me because they are telling you a story. You just have to be educated enough to know what that story is. And I think a lot of owners don't take the time to learn that part of it. They go, I'll worry about that later. I'll worry about that later. Well, later may be when you're shutting down going, I should have learned that before.
Yeah. So, and marketing. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. So this is one of the reasons why I created this cold leads calculator. You guys, anyone listening can check it out at doorgrow.com/cold leads. But a lot of people, most property managers, to grow their business, that's the default they go to. They're like, I need to go do marketing. So then they spend all this money on marketing, but they don't really calculate or look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And they don't realize they have leaks there. And so the biggest challenge, so I created this calculator simply so that they could see the real cost of the cold lead marketing that they're doing. And my recommendation is very counter to, I'm a marketer. My degree is in marketing. I've focused all my time and energy on marketing. And I tell property managers initially, don't do marketing, which sounds really backwards, but I have a definition of what's marketing and what's prospecting. And I want to segregate those two because, and most people call all of that marketing, but the reason I do that is because property managers that come into the industry, they're starting out, they have under 50 doors, and they start spending thousands of dollars with like APM and 4.5, and they do SEO, and they go to pay-per-click and AdWords, and they do all this stuff. These guys are calling me up all the time, and I talk to property managers that have thousands of doors. They're doing all the same stuff, and they're asking me for help because they have the same problem. And it's this dirty secret in the industry, this I call it the number one problem of the property management industry, which is they all say getting leads and growing my business. This is what everybody says is the number one problem. When I ask, what's your biggest challenge in your business? They say that. And so the challenge is they're small and they're trying to do all the same stuff big guys are doing. Like if somebody came in and tried to do all the marketing that you're doing without all the knowledge and the resources and the sales process you've dialed in and everything else, and tried to even compete at all with you in the same marketing channels you're doing, they have no chance, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so these people with 50, 60 doors, they're going to stay stuck at that forever because they can't even afford to hire somebody. So some of the things I tell them is, first, get rid of your bad properties. I know that's painful, but they're taking probably 80% of your time.
Yep.
And then I tell them, and that's like a milestone for them to fire their first door, right? Their first client.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys fire clients?
Oh, we grade our clients A through D, and the C's, we try to move them to B's, or they move to D's and the D's get fired.
Exactly. So you have a system in place for this, right?
Yep.
And so then Then we tell them instead, so then they're turning on this marketing spigot, but it doesn't make sense to turn on the spigot and add all these different marketing channels, because that's what they'll go and do while you have leaks throughout the whole pipeline.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that pipeline is revenue.
Yep.
And there's not going to be revenue or profit margin if you don't shore up all these leaks. And so they have a leaky website. They have leaky branding. They have leaks in their reputation. They have leaks in their sales process. They have leaks in fulfillment. They have leaks in all these different things. And so I can take any property manager, and all we do is we take each of these individual leaks and we just take a look at where they're at in each of these. And if we could just dial in each one marginally, even a little bit, but each one we do a marginal improvement, we could double the amount of business they're getting on very easily. And so for property managers starting out, they need the right foundation, and then marketing makes sense. But here's what happens, right? So we've got marketing, we've got then maybe website, then maybe it feeds into sales, and then maybe that feeds into fulfillment and then business and then yourself. And what I think Steve and I are both trying to get across to those listening is the most important thing in that whole pipeline is you.
Yeah.
And you start with you. You invest in you. You did this first. You got coaches first.
Yeah.
You didn't go do marketing first.
Nope.
Everyone else does marketing first. I hear it all the time. They do marketing until it hurts. Mm-hmm. And then they finally figure something out there. And then they realize their website's leaky, for example, and they take care of that next step. And then they move on to whatever's next, right? And eventually, and then they might just blame all the leads as terrible, right? Yeah. All the APM leads are terrible, or everything 4.5 is doing for me is terrible. The reality is that's not the problem. The problem is they can't handle it. They don't know how to really make that work and shore up all those leaks. And so, but if they had started with themselves and then worked outward from themselves at the core, invested in themselves, and then worked on the business and the team and the processes and everything, and worked outward, then then they're going to spend far less money and have a business that can actually grow, right? And so are you guys doing, so you've grown phenomenally, so you're doing a lot of things right, and things are working really well. So this growth that you're having, do you guys do any form of prospecting at all, or is all of it just handing money to different marketing channels?
Well, that's a good question, and maybe a whole other conversation. But I can do my best to tackle it. So everything you said, I 100% agree with. One of the first things I did is I wanted to brand our company as experts. So if anybody looks on our website, we have hundreds of video blogs of educational topics of why is my house, how do I know my house is being used as a meth lab? That's something that somebody would want to know. You know, we have a video after video after video. We've taken those, we've SEO'd them, geotagged, meta tagged, all that stuff. The next thing we did is we worked on our reputation management. So we have over 320 branding, Google reviews.
Reputation.
So then, yep. So if we're the highest reviewed company in Houston right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe 100 reviews more than anyone else. So just like Amazon, when someone goes to our website and they look, or they go to Google, we're organically on page 1 of mm-hmm. Google. We've done that by the SEO of the videos. So that is a long marinating process, as you know, Jason. It takes mm-hmm. a while to get that going. We also have the website. The website is the educational tool. Now our challenge now with our website is we have so much information. It's like a 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag that now we have to revise our website, because I've got radio shows on there and I've got my podcast, and we have to segment it out. But when people look on our website, they say, man, I see so much information on your website. Now, you can't just create that overnight. That's something that has to be created over time.
It's an investment.
It's an investment, but the nicest thing is it's me talking. It basically costs $0 to create, except for having somebody geotag and meta tag them. So by doing all these things, there's a lot of stuff that is handled for you that you can do to let it start marinating. After it starts marinating and you do all that, again, then you start going after these other marketing tactics that when they do find you, they want to click on you. When they click on you and they go to your website, you know, the one thing people don't understand is, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but the only reason to have a website is to have it as a conversion tool. That's all it is. It's for someone to basically say, I want to use your services. How do I sign up? People don't realize that. That is the only reason to have a website, is to convert that client to say, I'm interested in talking to you guys. How do I talk to you? Now,
so on the website, so if you're a property manager listening, one of the biggest hurdles that people need to get over, because initially when they get a website, they're just focused on operations. I need a website for tenants, right?
Yes.
And so, and you've done everything that I outline in, our kind of our flagship process that we take clients through. Very first thing, branding. You got to make sure that's dialed in, because that comes before everything. Then reputation, right? Which is a great way of getting warm leads instead of cold leads. Probably one of your best marketing channels are the review sites, which you don't even have to pay for those in most instances, right?
No.
And then the website, which is the next piece we have in our process we take people through. And that needs to be focused on conversions, which means it's converting visitors into, not every visitor, it's converting the owners and potential clients into customers, right? Into customers. And so, and it's facilitating and creating trust, which is part of that branding piece you were sort of talking about. And then after that, after you get a lead, then what? This is what comes next, right?
So, and so just going back to that, just so you know, about a year, I'm going to say a year and a half into it, after we had some structure in the company and being able to basically be a catcher's mitt for the leads. So when the deal comes through, we had the property manager. I think we had one property manager and the broker, and that we hired a marketing person. That was one of the first investments we made, as full-time marketing employee, to do the branding, to make sure our logos were correct, to make sure the website. I don't want to do that. I want someone to do that. We created some marketing strategies by me investing in a marketing person who's still with me to this day. And the guy is just amazing. And now he basically is the one who's taking our marketing. And we use a system called HubSpot, which is a CRM system that basically funnels them into sales steps. And I have 7 BDMs that do all the steps. So obviously, as you can imagine, there's a lot of sales steps that have to happen. But one thing that you kind of brushed over a little bit is, if that person signs up or does not sign up, does the property management company have some form of drip campaign to facilitate over long-term strategic nurturing of that client? When we get a potential lead, we are touching that client for 7 years. We are constantly being top of mind. They're getting our video blogs. We win an award. They get our monthly newsletter. I mean, we are constantly hitting them. We're letting them know when we have investors buy a property, when we get a property leased within 13 days. I mean, we are just constantly top of mind with them. So that to me, I will say the nurturing. Now you have to create the content to have those drip campaigns, but it's free to do. You can create that content. It doesn't cost anything except investing in yourself. And the drip campaign, I would say, is one of the most successful things that we have had from many people coming back over time, just by constantly touching them. And that's the one thing most salespeople, it's a lot of realtors and car salesmen, furniture, they're very tactical. They're one and done. They're not strategic, where they don't create the relationship with that client over time. Yeah. And so we are very big. That is one of the smartest things I think we did, is we were very big on creating our database. So just to give you an idea, and I'm sure everyone's got a different WOW number, our WOW number of database. So we have almost 30,000 people in our database, and we're only 4 years old. Right. Every single person that comes across our path, and we're in a small segment. I mean, we're in property management company in Houston. They're looking for property management, and that's how many people we have, whether they're a realtor, a vendor, a tenant. Each one of those people gets a different drip campaign. And we even took our drip campaigns and we split them up. From a new investor, they get certain stuff. An experienced investor, they get different stuff, because they have different messages, and they have different things that resonate with them, what's in it for me. Yeah. And then we have reluctant landlords, people that really don't want to be investors, but they can't sell their house or they inherited it. We have agents that get certain drip campaigns. We have tenants that get drip campaigns. So we've gone a little bit, I don't say overboard, but we've dissected these people to know. But the thing is it doesn't cost you any money. Yeah. It costs us $0, and it makes us money, and it's automatic. It happens on its own. And that's the thing people don't realize. If you had mentioned something earlier about out there slugging out and doing stuff. It reminds me of the story of the person that is sharpening his blade all day or the one that is just whacking away with a dull blade and never getting anywhere, and the guy that spends all of his time sharpening it. And all we did is we invested a lot of time in the beginning, like you had said, to set up the pipeline to sharpen our blade, so that now, you know, we just made a decision that we're going to double our marketing budget to you know, it's a certain percentage of our revenue. We're going to double that because we have the pipeline laid. We have the infrastructure in place. And it's not easy because, as you know, what may work at 100 doors does not work at 200, does not work at 300. And it's a constant tweaking. It's a constant attention. And the market changes. What worked 4 years ago may not work today. So you have to constantly revise that and revamp it. As a leader, that's my job, is to get out in the front of the boat looking at these strategies to go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Get it done. We're going to do that. Get it done. And that's my job, to keep the boat moving forward, in my opinion, at least.
So I love this. So how many doors do you think you were at when you brought in that marketing person, for people listening?
I'm going to say, if I had to guess, we were probably at about 180, maybe 200 doors. We were pretty young.
No, I mean, it was perfect. That's perfect, because what I started to notice was, in working with hundreds of property managers, is the ones that were coming to me looking for marketing were usually about the stage of about 200 to 400 doors.
Yep.
And their growth up to that point, most of them either was artificially through having a brokerage, or happened through largely word of mouth. Like the majority of the contracts they had were word of mouth. And yet so I used to think that was every property manager out there, were 200 to 400 doors and had money to spend on marketing, right? These were our clients, or bigger. And then I started realizing that 90% of my target audience are under 100 doors.
Yeah.
And so this is how we put this package together. And so the drip campaigns and all this kind of stuff, I think, makes a lot of sense once you're ready for marketing. And before you're ready for marketing, my recommendation is branding, reputation, website, sales. Dial in your sales process. Make sure you can convert when you're answering your freaking phones, right? If you're paying for leads, like you have the sales process dialed in. And then most people will turn on the marketing spigot. And so this may be, you know, kind of a new concept for some listening, but I recommend, before you turn on the marketing spigot, which is cold water, turn on the warm water, which is the marketing spigot. Before you turn on marketing, turn on prospecting. So prospecting is where you're able to capture people before they have awareness of property management, because this is the biggest problem in the industry right now. Australia, what percentage of rental properties are managed?
It's about 90%.
It's super high. I think
huge.
The last time I spoke with Darren Hunter, I think he said 77% of all rental properties at least are professionally managed. And everyone in Australia knows what a property manager is, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You compare that to the US, right? In the US, most property managers that ask, I did a webinar just before this, and I asked all of them, how many properties in your market do you think are professionally managed by a property manager? And most were saying roughly about 30, 50%. I don't know if there's any hard numbers out there, but I would guess. I've
heard 19. 19 is the number that we've gotten from NARPM. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but we've heard 19.
There's this huge opportunity yet.
Absolutely.
But then out of all that awareness that exists, right, which is really low. So you've got the potential opportunity, all the real estate investors that exist out there, all the people that have rental properties, all the investors that would get into having a rental property if they knew that what a property manager could do for them, and the benefits of doing buy and hold that could do it, right? There's this whole huge market of opportunity, but the industry as a whole is in its infancy. And so out of all of that available market share, there's this smaller segment, maybe half, of people that are actually, or less, that are actually aware of property managers and property management. And then out of that awareness, the majority right now have a low opinion of property management. So I asked this on the survey, and they said maybe 20% trust property managers or think they're a good idea, of those that are aware. And so if you take that 50% and cut 20% out of that 50%, you're left with I think 10% of the whole market. But then you've got this group that they know, they're aware of property management, but then they like property manager and think it's a good idea, or they at least know they need one because they're out of state, right? And then you take that small percentage, and then you have what's those that are couldn't find anybody through word of mouth, or don't know a realtor, or don't have somebody on Facebook like you posting videos or something. They don't have anyone to reach out to that they trust or like for word of mouth. So that's where everyone's capturing the word of mouth business. And then after that filter, then you have the tiny fractional, small, marginal percentage of what's left over that are searching for a property manager on Google. These are the cold leads. These are the worst leads. These are the APM leads. These are the pay-per-click leads on AdWords. These are the absolute most price sensitive people, right? They view property managers as a commodity. They have maybe a somewhat skewed or low opinion because the industry as a whole has a lot of bad property managers, which is opportunity. And so everybody's fighting in the red water over these worst leads. And this is why I feel confident as a marketer saying, hey, you can make that work if you dial in and shore up all the leaks and you get a system in place and you've got your drip campaigns and everything. That can be great. But that's fighting over the existing market share. And so I think what's really exciting for me and for DoorGrow right now is that you can do all that and dial all of that in, but still you're competing with everybody else at NARPM. There's this whole blue ocean that's available for the property managers that focus on prospecting. And the guys starting out, that's where they can actually compete and have success, because like somebody in your market that has 50 doors can't compete with you in pay-per-click, right? They can't compete with you on SEO. They can't compete with you on virtually any marketing channel that you are really focused on, but they can have good branding. They can work and build up a good reputation. There's a lot of big companies that have bad reputation. They can have a better website. Most bigger companies have websites that are 5 years old or older. And they feel somewhat painful to them at that point, and they want to do it right. So they can get a new website that's not very expensive, and then they can figure out sales. They could get sales coaches or mentors or whatever, and then they can then focus on prospecting, and so they can be at investor groups, foreclosure auctions. Some people call that community marketing, but they can start dialing those channels where they're building, like you've done, a reputation of trust and authority, even though it's in a small space.
Right. And, something that we talked about, but I don't think you really hit on, is the one thing that a lot of people do not think about is they have warm leads. They're called their current clients.
Absolutely.
If they marketed and had a marketing program to their current owners to help them buy properties, the average investor owns 3 to 5 properties. Our average investor owns 1.8. If we can get each one of our clients to buy one more house, we would double the size of our business. They're a known entity. They know our company. They know our business model. We don't have to sell them on anything. Our marketing acquisition cost is 0 because we already have them. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, if you were going to spend time on doing anything and creating a system, why don't you do it with someone you already know, like a warm lead of saying, okay, I'm going to make my owners feel special. I'm going to buy them a book on investing and wealth management. And I'm going to have that conversation with the owner saying, look, Mr. Owner, we both know you're not going to get rich off of one property. This is going to happen in multiplication and duplication. Let me help you become wealthy. Let's increase your portfolio. Let's have that one-on-one conversation. If you can get each one of your clients, now you don't have to even perfect a sales or anything. That is a known warm. So if you have someone with 50 properties, you could maybe get to 100 with 0 marketing dollars. Yeah. And just a matter of your current client. Now, the other thing I was going to mention,
if they have investor clients instead of the accidental investors, unless they can convert them into becoming investor clients, right? Yeah.
True. However, don't forget, some of these people become reluctant. They are reluctant landlords, and they go, hey, you know what? This actually isn't too bad. I'm getting appreciation. Someone's paying down my debt. I wouldn't be, opposed to doing this again. I mean, you never know. So you have that conversation. The other thing that I talk to when I do marketing classes and I teach people and help them. One of the other things I say is, how about you'd mentioned that let's just say 30% is managed. So you've got a 70% of the ocean that's untouched. Mm-hmm. How about owners that are self-managing? For example, let's just say that I happen to pull the data records of owners that are evicting their tenants, and they happen to live out of state and they're filing judgments for eviction on their tenant. I am finding an owner that is out of state, they're self-managing, and they have a problem.
And they're in trouble.
My solution is, hey, so maybe if I sent them a letter saying, hey, I can take the frustration and headache away from your problems. It just so happens that I manage properties and we specialize in placing tenants because we have a 1% eviction rate. So we focus on tenant finding the right tenant. And I put a little packet of aspirin in there for them and to say, hey, let us take your headache away. That's resonating with someone that is not even thinking about property management. They're out of state. They don't know what to do. You've got them at a point that they're going, you know what? Yeah, I will talk to you guys. So that's a tip for the people watching.
That's a fantastic tip. That's a fantastic tip. I mean, a lot of people are thinking they're so and I'm an internet marketer, guys. So, so you can understand that this is probably valid. Okay. But everyone's so focused on internet marketing as their savior. And you're talking about direct mail, lumpy mail, which is proven to, convert well if it's targeted effectively, so I love this idea. Basically, what Steve just pointed out is your number one prospect, which I tell people your number one prospect is not some new person that you can get on. It's your existing customer. Always.
You have them in front of you.
And so go after your existing clients. Not only that, but if you're providing a high level of service and you have a high level of relationship and communication with them, you can also hit them up for referrals.
Absolutely.
They know other investors. They know other friends. But if you're not asking, they're not going to just think about you and give it to you.
Yeah, and the thing you want to think about is, even dovetailing this in a little more is if you did a survey and you ask them, most people don't want to do the survey because they're afraid that someone's going to say, you guys suck. So they're like, you know what, I'm just going to let it lie. But if you did the survey and someone says, oh yeah, you guys are great. Number one, you try to get maybe a Google review from them so you can get some more reputation management, maybe a video testimonial from them saying how great you are that you can have on your website. And then, hey, by the way, have you ever thought of buying more properties? And do you know of anyone else? Because like-minded people, you make about $2,000 to $3,000 of the 5 people you hang around with. What are the chances that they have friends that they would love to brag to go, yeah, man, I'm killing it in real estate. These people are helping me grow my wealth. I just bought another property. They want to brag, right? They want to be the ones that are telling their friends, hey, you should talk to this guy. And people don't do that because they're afraid just to ask, hey, do we suck or don't we suck? Do you like what we're doing? A simple survey would give you that, a 3-question survey, which is free on Google or SurveyMonkey. You can do that and you can see, number one, are there things that your clients want and you're not providing? Because if they don't like what you're doing, eventually you're going to lose them. The ostrich stick your head in the sand program won't work. They will leave. So by you doing the survey, it's opening up multiple doors for reviews, testimonials, and then obviously more acquisitions and, as you said, referrals. So, I mean, it's multifaceted to do that.
Yeah. So I love all of this. This is really great. I see so much, synergy here with Steve. Steve, you've had great success in what you're doing. And I think property managers can take a look at what Steve's doing and they can you don't have to have a very large portfolio to do some of the stuff he's talking about. You can get the video testimonials. You can reach out to them and ask them, for referrals. You can do all this stuff so that you're really maximizing and focusing on your existing customer. And so, Steve, you've got lots of different systems in place. You've got lots of really great ideas. How can people connect with you, follow you, and maybe get some assistance from you?
Sure. They can find me on Facebook under Steve Rozenberg, or they can go to our company page, Empire Industries, on Facebook. We have a ton of information. You can go to our website, empireindustriesllc.com. We have a lot of video blogs. We have educational, useful tactics, things. I mean, we believe in sharing. We give everything away. We are big believers in NARPM and other things, and we have been blessed by having so many people, property management companies, and people like you to learn from, that we give it back. And I have people call us all the time. We have people visiting our offices all the time that say, hey, I just want to see what you guys are doing. And you know what, if we can help somebody, that as long as they're not in Houston, we're okay with that. But we love helping people. And if they want to give us a call, they can call me 888-866-6727. You can get a hold of any one of my staff members. And if you want to drill down into numbers and KPIs, That's not me. That's my business partner. You want to talk about sales and marketing, I'm the guy you want to talk to. And, I do speak. I travel the country speaking. I'll be in Seattle in June. I'll be in Australia in July and October. And I think people like what we have to say because we're in the fight. We're doing it. We manage doors. We own properties. We have a radio show once a week on Podcast It Out. And, we're just trying to help people become smarter investors and smarter business owners because there's not many people, they try to give you that prize that you don't know about, but not many people tell you, like you said, about the leaky pipes in the pipeline. They don't give you that down and dirty. They want to give you the fluff. They say, hey, look, this is how you handle a leaky pipe. And this is where your gaping hole is in your marketing program. Stop what you're doing. Let's fix this. And, kudos to you for doing that because there's not many people, if any, that will actually take the time to do what you're doing. And you should be commended for doing that and helping so many people that are they're kind of in that no man's land. They're not big enough to hire someone big, like a big marketing company, and they're too small that they can't get out of their own way. And you seem like you're in that niche that you can really help people. And I think that's great that you do that.
Yeah, Steve, we'll have to talk more and do some cool stuff together. I'm excited to see and learn more about what you're doing out there. And so I noticed, real quick, I want to wrap this up, but you do radio shows. It looks like you're hitting podcasts like here,
yep.
And you have ebooks and you have all these videos. And did you do all that stuff in the beginning?
No, didn't do any of them in the beginning. A lot of these things are within the last 2 years, really. It's kind of that flywheel. You got to get that flywheel turning. And once it starts turning and it's picking up momentum, a quick example, the radio show we have, the way that we pay for the radio show is because we have all of our vendors. Our vendors, we sell them sponsorship spots. They pay for the sponsorship spots, pays for the radio show. So, they're getting coverage. We're getting marketing. They're getting marketing. But we couldn't do that if we didn't have the doors and the branding already to get vendors to be on the show. So if I started that at 50 doors, they would be like, well, who are you? But when you have 500-600 doors and we're using vendors and say, hey, we want to increase your market share, next thing you know, here we go. And so that's one of the things that we do to get them pumped up and get them going. But we couldn't do that without the momentum of the wheel turning. And one quick thing I'll say is, when it comes to the website and the education, one of the coolest things I always hear, and I hear it often, is when someone's talking to us and I say, well, if you want to verify what we're saying, go to Google, go onto our website, look at our reviews, look at our education, and you know what they say? I did. That's why I'm already here. That's why I'm here. And that's cool because they're already sold before they even come across the plate. They're going, look,
it's far more warm.
I want to use you guys. You're it. And so all of our leads are inbound coming in because of we've taken the time to set the proper stop dates in at the right place with the right reputation, with the right website, with the right content. But you've got to do it in steps. And the thing is it does not take time. You can't do it all in one day. You have to do it over the course of days, weeks, and months, and just a little bit at a time. Just take time out of your calendar. Say, I am working on the business. I'm shutting off my phone. I'm shutting stuff down, and I'm going to work on content marketing for an hour, and I'm going to create as many video blogs as I can. And, when you're talking about video blogs, one of the best things you can do for video blogs is just start making a list of what things owners and tenants are asking you, and that is your video blog content. When owners want to know, what do I pay for security deposit? What do I pay for this? Tenants want to know who's responsible for HOA. That is your content. You have the content right there. Now you're just expanding on it and you're being the expert explaining it. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I have found that is the best way to create content is just see what are people asking on the portal of our property management software. And that's it right there. It's a live feed.
Yeah, I think content. So all the stuff that you're doing, content creation, podcasts, radio shows. I mean, there's a million directions people can go in. So to those listening, if you're at 200 to 400 doors, start doing all this crazy stuff and get into it. It's awesome. If you are not at that point yet, then my recommendation is keep it tight, keep it focused, and first show all the leaks in your business before you add more tactical difficulty and challenge to your life, and then build that team so that you can start to focus on this stuff. And that's the right point to do it. So Steve, this has been super helpful. It's very validating. I really love hearing about your story, especially, as a pilot. I'm sure people will listen to this probably several times. There's lots of great takeaways here. And I'm grateful for you coming on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and hopefully some people can get some education from this, and they can, hopefully if they ever want anything or need anything from me, just reach out to me. I'm just like everybody else. I'm out grinding every day. I'm trying to make it work. And if I can help you with some advice, I'm always here to help.
Awesome. Thanks. Steve Rozenberg, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.